Hi everyone, I'm Bethany Poole, Senior Director of Ads Marketing here at Google, and I am joined by an exceptional panel of industry leaders today to talk about what modern marketing looks like today. Before we jump in, I just want to share some intel that we have been seeing here at Google to set the stage for our conversation. First, budgets remain tight and business leaders are ruthlessly prioritizing where to allocate resources. But marketing isn't always their first choice. Only half of the CEOs consider it a top growth driver. So marketers are facing tremendous pressure to drive business outcomes. Second, AI is redefining the value of marketing. With it, we can build stronger connections with our customers, deliver better financial ROI, and make our jobs more interesting by freeing up time to focus on the high-value work that AI cannot do. Last, when marketers think about media, we tend to think about ads because they're the portion we know the price of and pay for. But there are countless other ways and surfaces where people can interact and engage with products. Marketers need to think expansively and consider the totality of these consumer interactions in media and as an opportunity to see and engage, not just to achieve reach and frequency. So with that context, I want to talk to all of you guys about what the term modern marketing means to you, because it's something we've been talking a lot about these days. We'll start with you, Will. What does it mean to be a modern marketer in today's day and age?
I would say to be a modern marketer in this day and age, you need to be very conscious of where the consumer is and how to speak to them in a way that's compelling and relevant. And that seems somewhat straightforward, but I think the challenge is those dynamics are changing all the time, right? Media consumption patterns are shifting a ton. Who and what is relevant, the way in which you can break through the noise in those media channels, constant state of flux. And so a really effective modern marketer is staying on top of what those trends are and really thinking deeply about what they need to do to be able to resonate with consumers and reach them where they are.
Liz, you're talking to customers all the time, your clients. What do you advise them? What do you tell them when they ask, what is modern marketing?
For me, modern marketing is the ability to move at the speed of the consumer, which is faster than ever. And I think there's three facets to that. I think it's about being data-centric, digitally mature, and having platform depth within your team and capability.
Ryu, what do you think?
You know, I think these guys have really hit it, and you hit it a bit in your opening, that, you know, modern marketing is really characterized by how we can take advantage of how data is interconnecting everything today. And so, you know, for us, you know, we think about, you know, how can I leverage data to better understand my consumer, to better craft communications and drive, you know, better creative, to link through and better understand how things are working, and then to make my stuff, you know, work harder for me every day. And I think the big opportunity that Will was striking at is how can you actually use data to better understand culture and be, a part of culture in a way that really can scale and, create the kind of relevant mental availability that you want to have, with your shopper.
So you all talked about staying on top of consumer trends and the fast pace that things are moving today. How do you ensure your teams are staying on top of all the latest marketing trends and technology? We were talking earlier about how it might even change tomorrow. So how do you set up your teams and what do you tell them? Deepti, love to start with you.
One of the things we do, at least creatively, is we're constantly mining social because that's where a lot of the trends are starting. So we're looking for what's going viral and how we can incorporate that into our marketing efforts. And we do that both as we think about how we show up organically and from a paid perspective. And that's really important because back to your original question, the consumer sees us as one brand. They're not seeing us as the advertising portion versus the portion that's showing up organically. And so making sure we're carrying that trend through is really important.
Ali?
I think Brainlabs is always investing in digital transformation. We've been investing in R&D. We have teams that actually work on understanding the products and the tools where the actual customers may be interested in. And we also leveraged what we call the learning sprints, where we upskills the teams and make sure that everybody is up to date with the latest consumer trends. We really foster a culture of learning and curiosity. In fact, our core culture is actually test and learn. And so therefore, we actually invest massively in that. And we also partner with you as a GMP official reseller. We make sure that, we test all the alphas and the betas opportunities that we have in the industry to make sure that we adjust rapidly to the consumer change.
Yeah. I think similar to iProspect, I think with agencies, the talent that's really important is people that have a natural curiosity being able to keep up at the speed of what's happening in our marketplace just requires that. So encouraging it, fostering it, rewarding it, I think is really important.
We have, I would say, really fundamental stuff, right? So at Unilever, we've brought together the digital media commerce side all together as a single discipline to try to drive that interconnectedness.
Yeah.
We try to go to events and we social mind, but at the most basic, we've tried to institute, so we have a culture club or committee. It's actually called the Culture Committee, sorry. And so those guys have an actual calendar of what are the events happening. We try to make sure we have folks there, that we have the right knowledge sharing coming back. And we do that. I actually find our WhatsApp is the most active thing in terms of actually driving. And it helps both in terms of driving, understanding what's happening, but also just engagement in terms of keeping everybody thinking about staying on the front line and actually paying attention to things that are going on.
Yeah, I would add that I think we encourage our teams to be consumers of media,
Exactly.
right? Put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. When you're seeing ads, pay attention to what's being said. Does it resonate with you? Does it strike a chord, and why? And how do you apply that? And then I think from spending that time and investing that time, immersing oneself in media, the second then trait and skill is be a really good pattern matcher, right? So understand what are the patterns and the traits of the things that seem to be hitting and connecting. And then how might that pattern be applied to our products and services? And so I think that combination of immerse yourself in it, but be attuned to what the patterns are, try to divin out what is working, and then that last step of applying it to our own ecosystem is kind of the finishing touch.
Spot on.
So you just talked about pattern matching. We talked about technology. The new hot buzzword is AI. It's going to change. We talked a little bit about this in the beginning. It's going to change how marketing is done. I would love your takes. AI is the new buzzword. What do you feel like is real about it, and what is the kind of just noise? Liz, we'll start with you.
From my perspective, AI is certainly a performance enhancer. I don't know if it's the game changer that we maybe thought it was going to be around this time last year. But we're leaning in from the perspective of helping our teams do things more quickly with large data sets. So for example, we've developed a technology that allows our teams to query data sets from our clients and customers' data and ask very simple questions about campaign performance, for example, or how a creative has performed or done, and make very quick changes off the back of being able to have a conversation with our technology, which really changes the amount of time they can spend digging through the data and more time making strategic decisions and being with our clients.
I think a year ago, everybody was really excited because of the flashy. You saw
Yeah.
the Sora video and oh my God, that was made from. And I think that's real and that's really exciting. But there's really practical applications that we're seeing already. If I think about in terms of the way that we can find our audience and target media, and the real pivot that we've heard across the industry that we're actually seeing work well with us in terms of our planning. Is this shift to really thinking about creative as your audience targeting and actually leveraging that to make sure you get to the right people. There's also a ton of real practical applications we're seeing across platforms, including yours, in terms of how the AI can actually help us to extend assets and iterate further beyond where we've been. So I think there's a lot of stuff like that. I think in general, AI is helpful, and I think it's like electricity or like the steam engine or something in terms of how much more productivity we can drive out of it. And it also just helps you take and look at things from different perspectives. Like my favorite cheat code thing is in Copilot, you can have it read your emails and coach you for tone, which never occurred to me. But there's so many things that I say offhand or that I'm typing quickly that I don't even think about. And it's the kind of thing where any incremental opportunity you have to take out misunderstandings or those kinds of things can really be beneficial, and so I think there's tons of applications.
Yeah, I think to Liz's point, we've used it a lot to drive increased efficiency, right? It's already so embedded in everything we do, optimized bidding strategy, better audience targeting. But where we are looking, what's top of mind for us is really on how we leverage that efficiency to do things like personalization. Personalization feels like baseline nowadays, and consumers expect it, but manually it's very time consuming, it's resource intensive, and so how can we really use AI to power that? How can we use it to power predictive analytics? I feel like those are probably the two areas where we can get more productivity out of it individually as teams, without it being kind of the end-all be-all solution that we've been talking about it being.
Yeah, I would say, I think if you ask what is real or what is noise, I think the noise is that right now in current form, it's just going to replace the output of a really effective, briefed and well integrated team. What we think is it's kind of like in the best case, these tools can kind of be like Tony Stark's suit, right, for a great designer or a great marketer. How can it really help them be powerful, be much more efficient, do superhuman things that would be very hard for them to do on their own? Really and what we've seen success is in supercharging the output of our creative teams and our marketing teams. And so that could be from making it more efficient to iterate on concepts, helping to use assets to create like a component of a broader visual execution. It's not to say we put in the prompt and the asset is ready, but it really, I think the real success over the next couple of years, marketers and by extension teams that effectively use it as kind of a enhancement tool rather than a replacement of resources are going to see the best success.
But I mean, you're totally right on the prompts. Like, it's a whole new skill set that I think everybody has to learn. Identify what the right use cases are, where it can really drive productivity for you, and then get really sharp on how you can actually make the tools work for you.
Well, and it's not one and done on the prompt, right? Oftentimes it's that iteration and sort of sparring with the Gen AI to come up with and to evolve your thinking or strategy.
On that note, it's brilliant what everybody said. It's probably one of the biggest change from the perception we had last year into this year is that last year was almost like the fear of AI coming for your jobs. And I love to say it right now is that AI is actually not coming for your job, it's coming for your task, which is a completely different change. I also want to emphasize the fact that the potential risk on the flip side of AI could be over automation. So I don't think we can forget the human element into that. To really moderate and making sure that the brand message is authentic and making sure that everything is right there as in place. So it is important to kind of like mitigate that and balance AI with the human touch.
You guys mentioned earlier hiring people with curiosity so that they can adapt quickly. Just building on the AIs coming for your tasks, how are you encouraging your people to experiment and use it? Has there been resistance? I'm just curious.
No, we're fine. Everybody has their hand up and wanting to access the tooling, and we've had, I think like everybody, I keep hearing about the whole industry has a surge of pilots, and I think with our CMO AC is always talking about we have the scourge of pilotitis, and we need to start scaling because you see so much value in them, But I think that's just a symptom of the fact that everybody is actually eager to understand how it can help them out.
Yeah, tell me a marketer that says, I don't have enough work, right? Prioritization is always an issue. So the opportunity to leverage AI to improve efficiency and output while helping prioritize, I think is a huge opportunity. And so we have found no resistance. In fact, everyone's really excited about how they can use it.
Well, you just mentioned, Ryu, pilots. I'm curious, we're here to talk about modern marketing. We've got a lot of pilots going. What is something that you guys are doing within your company that you feel like exemplifies modern marketing, whether it's a campaign or measurement framework?
We've talked a lot about data. I think finding the right data that can really unlock effectiveness against your creative is so valuable. One of the things that we've been thinking about with modern marketing is a lot of it, as we talk about communities, is also around partnerships. And so we've been trying to do a lot of what we think of as like matchmaking between, in our case, we sell through retailers, with fast-moving consumer goods. And so it's important for us to identify and understand retailers' data sets, the right media platforms' data sets, and it's something that we're actively working on now with YouTube, for example.
I'd like to hear from the rest of you. The reason we pulled you all together is you are exemplifying modern marketing. I would love to hear examples of what you're seeing in your companies.
We were an early adopter into identity solutions, and so our agency is a market leader when it comes to data-driven media, and we've focused a lot on the media aspect of that, but there's so much more. If we stop thinking about data centricity and identity just in the media space, we're doing something wrong. So I'm always encouraging my team and clients to expand much further outside of media and use identity as the way to do that, data and identity in particular hand in hand. Because to me, modern marketing is when channels do not have a start and end point, they're all interconnected. We talked a little bit about, the consumer sees one brand and has one experience. So modern marketing to me is about being able to stitch all of those things together.
With an example of like one of Brainlabs clients owns like hundreds of apartment complexes around the states. And the challenge is that every single property effectively works on a unique way. They have like unique campaign sets, they have unique budgets. And therefore the challenge was that from a first party data standpoint, we couldn't integrate this very strategically in an agile way, in a fast way and rapid way to all the campaigns. And so Brainlabs worked closely with their clients to kind of like, number one, ingest GA4 into the conversation, allows for first party data to be ingested into the campaign to be optimized. We actually moved to the server side tagging of things to allow for more effective privacy compliance. We also launched broad match, which allowed to expand the targeting with some additional negatives to filter the quality of the traffic. We leverage also B strategy on top of everything to make sure that we were targeting high intense events. And to top it all off, we were able to leverage our tech to actually launch strategic budget allocation campaigns to prioritize the high performance campaigns. All in all, we're able to drive massive improvements in conversion rate, in conversion volume, and also cost per click and CPL.
You're beginning to you're optimizing for business results more than media metrics,
Yes.
which really drives the business.
Yes.
Yeah, I think building on that, two things that have been a focus of ours this year are really on how we drive incrementality. So less about kind of pure efficiency or just looking at a CPA of a campaign, but more thinking about how we are investing our dollars back into, like how each incremental dollar has incremental impact. So you don't always see that directly if you're measuring single campaigns or single channels. You have to think about the budget holistically, and that's been particularly relevant because this year Seed has transitioned from being D2C only to omni-channel. We are now available on Amazon, we are available in retail stores, and so we've had to think about, before we had a direct connection, we would invest a media dollar and we would see that impact and we'd understand if we thought it was driving conversions and business revenue or not. And now we have to think about it holistically, right? If somebody sees an ad on TV, they're not necessarily coming to our site. They're going into a Target, they're going on Amazon. How are we thinking about that impact and really understanding whether that dollar is driving business value or not? And that's an evolving situation. I don't think we have an answer yet, but we're definitely trying to think about how we evolve our measurement and our data to do so.
Yeah, I would add, I'd say from a brand perspective, our data focus has been much more on harnessing and understanding our own data and understanding the touch points that we have with a consumer, knowing that we have more than just one. So more often than not, a consumer coming to our service, they've seen our ads on television, they've responded to a search ad, there are multiple touches, they've engaged with an organic content piece, right? And so us building our understanding of those touch points, making sure we can understand them and reconcile them, but then also realizing that that's not going to yield some silver bullet answer, right? What that will yield is a few different ways to look at this, and then it's incumbent upon our team to really triangulate those data points, and then run experiments around incrementality, right? So then pressure test our assumptions around what these different methodologies of measurement mean, and so that's like an ongoing, evolving process. But I do think most importantly, where we're spending time and effort, because that is at the essence of us saying, where should we allocate? Where should we put our dollars and where should we spend our time and money and effort? So again, I think of critical importance more than anything, us understanding our touch points and how people are engaging in our environment that informs what we should do outside of our environment.
The marrying of that first party data so that you can look across all of those channels and better understand what's resonating with your customers seems to be really, really important. I'm curious, as you talk about measurement and media planning, what's the process to reach, like media planning process, how has that changed as you pull all of those pieces together and you're thinking about organic and paid? What's changed in the last couple of years? What is modern now?
I think what's exciting about it for me is the advent of having this data gives us an opportunity to set plans where you can really learn as you go. We used to spend months and months trying to develop the perfect brief so I can get the perfect campaign, and then we roll it out, and then hopefully it's great, or it's going to be a tough year. I think the cool thing now is, as we as a non-legacy DTC on the bulk of my business, we've had to figure out how we can establish the right data signals across our full funnel planning. In the absence of having that, a data that for us sits behind walled gardens the moment that it's getting, on the retailer side. So we have the right kind of attribution so that we can do the right kind of modeling so that we can understand the impact that we're having. But now that we've got it, it's got us in put us in a position where we can actively make our campaigns work harder once we've launched. We can actively understand what pieces of creative are really driving more for us, make sure we're allocating behind those the right way, and also inspire better pieces of creative on the basis of them. And so it's an entirely different ballgame. So for me, it's like the great de-stressor. I wake up if something's going wrong, or if I get a signal, it just means that I know now how I can make it better. And that's a big change versus just a few years ago, I think.
Yeah. We're walking into the holiday season. As you talk about that, we're walking into the holiday season. You're talking about constantly with the media, constantly learning, trying new things. I'm curious how you guys advise your customers, how you guys as brands are approaching the holiday season, and if it's going to be different because of all of those signals and AI this year.
I think there's a lot that's happening that's different. Back to your point about what's changed in media planning and how that's influencing then holiday season, I think our platforms have changed significantly, and the way that we can target, the way that we can reach different types of media has evolved significantly. Not only the platforms that we're used to, like Google, who have a much broader spectrum of what can be targeted and what can be reached on a platform, the depth of knowledge is really important for our teams too. And then there's the evolution of retail media networks. The spread is just so broad. And so as we're coming into retail season, what we're helping our clients with is really understand where is their investment going to be best placed, and how do we reduce the fragmentation that often happens when you're spreading your budget so thin across so many different platforms, and investing deeper and kind of more broadly within a handful of platforms that have a broader reach and broader exposure, especially for those advertisers whose budgets are decreasing or relatively small.
I think we're seeing a few things. Number one, there is an increase in the overlap between offline and online. And therefore, omni-channel strategies at this point are vital into this environment. Specifically, all of this effectively combined in a new environment where, number one, this year we're going to have a different type of calendar. We're going to have one less shopping weekend than last year. This is an important thing to say because the budgets will be planning a different way. We're going to see likely more purchases happening in December versus like the rest of the period. Also, we know that Cyber 5, it's going to be an important time where even if we observe like deals that are similar in discounts, opportunity, before Cyber 5, the perception of the customer is that probably Cyber 5 is where they're going to find the best deals. And so they're going to invest massively in it, and we're going to be able to actually be able to capitalize on that. Most importantly, there is this very important perception on the fact that the high food and the high energy that is happening, prices at this point will have a massive impact on the actual discretionary budgets on all our customers, especially for the non-essential shopping items. And so adding discounts to our ads will be paramount this year more than ever. And so leveraging all the shopping promotional notation will be very important. And we leverage feeds to do that very quickly to add the price drops into our ads, because if you don't do that, most likely you're going to have a competitive disadvantage, considering all the competitive environment that we're facing right now.
Yeah, for us, supplements aren't a gifting product, so this season isn't the same for us as it is for many retailers. But ultimately, it's about that kind of centering back to your initial question about what is modern marketing. It's really centered around the consumer mindset, and so where's our consumer? What are their pain points? What are their needs? And how are we addressing them? And I think just continuing to keep that at the forefront of all of our decision making has really helped us anchor in, okay, it might not be top of mind for them, but there's still relevancy here. How do we ensure that that relevancy is cutting through to help us be successful during this time, and all in preparation for what is our Q4 holiday, which is January.
New Year.
Yes, exactly, right? So a lot of testing to inform how we make that successful.
I'd say consistent with you all, again, we're not a holiday gifting type product. Our services have more steady, consistent kind of need and interest. So fortunately, that gives us the chance to zig when others are zagging, right? So instead of everyone kind of crowding through a door of an expensive media opportunity, we kind of can pause and allocate more in times when seasonality and the media environment's better for us. But same thing, I think learning and relevancy. Also, I think as a modern marketer, moving it away from like a blanket approach to a more personalized and targeted approach is the opportunity that we all have. And I think a brand even that does have a deep holiday dynamic can also do that. Moving from a blanket 20% off discount to like a super targeted gift with purchase that's unique to what we know about you as a consumer, right? There are things that the current modern marketing platforms in this day and age afford a marketer doing that maybe weren't available in the past. And so I do think brands that are going to be successful, whether in holiday or their own holiday period, like for us, the New Year, New You period, also important. They'll win if they move away from a blanket strategy into something that's very tailored and specific to the consumer, all while keeping, again, in accordance with what they're thinking, what their mindset is at that time.
I'm like so proud of this panel for getting through a marketing question on holiday and not bringing up creators. But I'll say, because I sat on the YouTube Awards, with you, this was actually, they have a whole category on this topic. And it's incredible the role that creators have played in terms of really marshaling communities towards shops on specific occasions, with holiday being one of the key ones. And on your platform, if you go on YouTube and put in almost, I want to buy a gift for this, you will find a video from a creator of relevance with some following that is generating probably a pretty relevant piece of content explaining ideas. And so there's just a huge change, I think, in terms of the way that people are both becoming aware of potential gift ideas and also being encouraged and really driven down the funnel against them based on sort of the evolution of where influence is coming from.
Yeah, Brands as Creators was the YouTube Works Award, and that, Deepti, you talked about this a little bit with the social and organic, just the idea of like branded content versus organic content, and how whether you're using a creator or you're showing up and kind of designing your campaign around that more organic community, it's just a different way to go to market.
I think one thing we haven't talked about is just how much media is innovating and changing. Like, to use your terms around blanket versus specific or targeted, the same goes for media. I think we're seeing traditional channels become much more innovation focused because they have to keep up. Like last year's SpongeBob Super Bowl was a great example for me, which took that pinnacle of ad space and made it more accessible to a different set of advertisers and a completely different audience. I expect to see more innovation like that. We're talking about virtual floats in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for advertisers who can't afford to build one. So I think there's going to be a lot more innovation.
I hadn't heard of that. That's an interesting
idea. You
idea.
can't steal that one. That's from my client.
No, I'm not.
Well, the innovation but it's innovation and then the canvas you talked about with your clients and trying to help them go through this fragmented media landscape and go, where should I spend my time? As that innovation is happening at the same time. It's quite an exciting time to be a marketer. So I want to thank all of you for spending some time with us today and talking about what modern marketing looks like. It seems like it will continue to innovate, and it's a great place to end today. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.